Australian Aviation Podcast, the official podcast of Australian aviation, unpacking the latest insights, developments and issues impacting Australia's aviation sector.
Hello everybody, my name is Adam Thorne and welcome to the Australian Aviation Podcast. As long-term followers of the Australian Aviation Podcast and the website will know, it's all gone to the dogs in the last couple of years and it is frankly not as good as it used to be. There's no point in lying. We've had some inferior new staff join. But
I hear that the magazine has been going downhill since the second issue, Adam.
Well, that was a long time. That was before us, so we can't take much blame for it. I didn't even get around to introduce you. I will introduce you, Jake. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam.
Basically, yeah, it's just not as good as it used to be. And anyway, I've had the big call from Phil and Alex, the owners. They said you need to turn it round. You need to go back to the old guard. And I'm delighted to say we are welcoming Australian aviation royalty. Hannah Dowling was on Australian Aviation for a couple of years. She is, I don't want to big her up too much, the most successful journalist Momentum Media has ever employed. She holds every single viewing record we have. Hannah Dowling, welcome back. Round of applause, Jake. A round of applause. Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you for that.
I see what's going
that
on here.
mammoth introduction, Adam. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. I think you've got about 20 people upstairs who are about to fight you over saying the most successful journalist Momentum Media's had.
You hold the records, which is what we're all about. Now, obviously, before we talk about the news and all that boring rubbish, you have been gone from this podcast for a couple of years.
I have.
Just tell us everything. Start at the beginning.
Oh, well, it's really good to be back. Thank you so much. I was very excited to get that email in my inbox inviting me back on for today. It's 2.5 years, actually, since I've been on, which is devastating.
It's a long time.
It's been, but that time has flown, really. Excuse the pun, I suppose.
Yeah.
We've been...
You don't need to apologise for your puns on the show. I never do.
I love that you're a supporter of the puns. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a big few years. I don't think that the podcast listeners would realise that I am still involved in Australian aviation. I tell anyone I meet in the flesh that I can. Australian aviation is one of my biggest all-time just highs of my career. I still have very much love for Australian aviation, so I was thrilled to be back. As I said, I'm still involved. I'm still in the magazine. You'll read my stuff there if you are a subscriber. Highly recommend. Traffic, Warbirds, Register, which is the bane of my existence, but that is where you'll mostly find me. And then every now and again, an op-ed or a feature article. Since I left Australian aviation, honestly, I've still been pretty much doing what I was doing before. I write about aviation and space. I've been traveling around the UK and the US, pretty much just freelancing. I'm writing. I'm still a big supporter and a fan of Australian aviation.
We're not glossing over the fact you've travelled the world.
Yeah.
You travelled the world. So Hannah's partner is a pilot, which is all, it all feeds in.
It all comes together, doesn't it? Yeah.
Give us a kind of
That's how you got the insider knowledge, wasn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah, those are my biggest scoops are from knowing a pilot once. No, it's it's funny because everybody always asks when they find out that my partner's a pilot, like, oh, did you meet through Australian aviation? I'm like, no, it's kind of the other way around. He was first and then I got into this industry. And it's so cool. I'm so glad I did because I love this industry. I love talking about planes.
So you're in the US now, or you've just popped back obviously to Australia.
I'm so sorry, by the way.
Why? What?
But,
for the US. Yes. It's a very interesting time to be in the US. It's a very interesting time to be an immigrant in the US, but we're all right. The Australians don't cop too much. We just renewed visas for another 2 years, so we'll be there another 2 years at least, it looks like. But it's pretty good. Like, I think we're pretty insulated. Like, I'm pretty lucky that I was living in Florida. You meet interesting people, but it's still, we haven't found it too bad. It doesn't feel as, I guess, as, what is the word I'm looking for? It doesn't feel as crazy as it seems, I guess, because I read all the same articles as everyone else. And yeah, I'm like, whoa, like things feel like there's just a lot going on and I don't know what to make of it. But when you're actually there and you're just on the feet on the ground, it's kind of fine.
So who are you working for? Obviously, you're doing bits and pieces for us. What's like the day to day for Hannah Dowling now?
Look, I'm doing bits and pieces for you guys. I have a couple other contracts with other companies in the UK and the US, writing mostly. Honestly, I've kind of shifted a lot into the space industry.
Yeah.
I was writing a lot for a company that focuses on UK space news, so they were sending me to a lot of conferences, which was awesome. I went to Farnborough. I went to there's quite a bit of like European space industry conventions and such. So that was exciting. I spent a lot of the last year just traveling for those purposes. And then obviously the space industry in Florida where I was living is really, it's really taken off again, excuse the pun. That's largely what I've spent my time doing. I do other kind of content writing, bits and pieces, but for the most part, I'm in space.
You're in space?
I'm in space.
That's so. How did you get back? What airline did you fly with to get back over here? Because we always like to hear about people's plane. Did your husband fly the plane?
No. He just flies domestically in the States. But we flew here on United. We get, like, as most people in the industry would know, if you work in the industry, you get really good deals. You get really good benefits. So it costs us like a tenth of what it would cost anyone else to buy a ticket for these flights. We have to fly standby, which is a pain in the bum sometimes. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Can I say pain in the bum? Great.
We do not say the P word on this podcast.
Standby is it's a gamble every single time. Sorry. It's a gamble every single time. You rock up to the airport, you're ready to go. You've got your carry-on baggage only because checked-in baggage is just way too much of a drama when you're on standby. And you only get on that flight if there's seats available and you're on a list of other people who are trying to fly standby because the industry is so massive in America. There's always standbys on every flight. So it's just always, I have to show up to the airport. Sometimes I have to get in the car and go back home, disappointed, didn't get on a flight. Sometimes you get halfway there. I was living in Orlando. You fly from Orlando to Houston, and then you're trying to get on a flight from there, but there's no flights from Houston. You get halfway there, you're done.
Has there been a time when you and your partner have got two standbys and only one's come through?
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot. And then you get put in that position. It's like, well, do one of us just go or do we wait? Normally, if we're traveling together, we'll just wait. We'll just say, look, someone else can take that seat. We'll wait for the next one, see what happens rather than split up. Unless it's urgent or unless, like, if he has to go to work or whatever. Because I do what I do, I work remotely. I can work from anywhere. Half the time, I'm opening up my laptop in an airport, like trying to get some work done. What are the time zones? Who am I working for? Yeah. I had a mishap 2 weeks ago with the Australian Aviation magazine where I just got my dates all mixed up and Adam sent me an email. He might have told you about this. Code red. We're going to print.
Say nothing. Say nothing, hey?
I have no idea what you're talking about. It never came up.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, I'm sure Adam was ready to kill me. I just...
He wasn't panicking and crying at all.
No,
there were no tears in the office.
Thank goodness. I was so worried. But I was literally at an airport when I got the email. I was like walking to a flight. I think it was when I was on my way here. So, yeah, I'd just gotten off one flight, checked my emails, saw the email from Adam. I was like, oh, no, that's bad. I've got so much to do. I thought I still had like a week worth of time to get everything done. So anyway, we made it happen. We made it work. I have no idea. Maybe it was my best work yet. You'll find out when you read the magazine.
You hit the deadline in the end. So that's the main thing.
In the end, we got it done, and that's what matters. But this happens to me a lot where I'm like sitting in airports. I'm like, oh, I missed a flight. Better just sit down and write a story or do something. I've got to call someone. I've got to do this, that, and the other. It's a hectic kind of situation. Ooh.
Right, we edit that out. Jake, we got any other shout-outs, any messages, anything at all to say before we steam into the news?
No, that's basically it. That's basically it. We have had a comment on our video from last week asking if Rex was on the road to nationalisation. Someone says, not correct. Rex has not been nationalised. The government has supported it financially on condition that the airline be brought as a going concern. we never said that Rex had been nationalised. We said that Rex might be nationalised. So
that's not the best comment. I was hoping for something a bit more exciting if we're going to read it out. Don't just read out any of them, any comments. You got to be a bit more editorial control here, Jake.
Yeah, well, people don't give me a whole lot to work with, Adam.
No.
That's fair.
You ask me for shout-outs,
Yeah.
you ask if we've had any feedback, I give you and you throw it back in my face.
Well, while we are on the topic of Rex, Hannah has informed me that despite the fact, and she does still work for the magazine, despite the fact that she's not covering the news, she's got a brilliant exclusive. She's got an amazing exclusive. And my first thought is, why didn't you get that exclusive? This is why we're bringing back the old talent. And she's been here only 10 minutes. She's already put you to the sword. So I'm going to now let Hannah talk us through. Don't look sad. Look, he looks a wounded little animal. When I said to him in the office, I was like, "Oh, we're bringing back Hannah." He said, "Is it just for one? Is it just for one episode or permanently?" And it was like when Woody saw Buzz turn up, the look of horror on his face.
Oh no.
I wouldn't mind having an extra pair of hands around here. I'm the only one who writes stories for the website, aren't I?
Whoa there. Anyway, let's move on. Hannah, already working her magic 10 minutes in. Talk us through your story, because it's brilliant. And we're going to put this on the website tomorrow. Get on it. It's brilliant.
You'll heard it here first, I suppose. Probably not. I have to say, I love that I'm like the ghost of Australian aviation's past here. I haunt these halls and still.
No, that's the dread Enoch. He used to live in the vents.
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not me at all. No, bless. But anyway, yeah, no, I did just kind of casually mention this to Adam prior to recording this podcast, and he stopped in his tracks and said, "This is brilliant." Sorry, I didn't mean to let
No, that's exactly how I said it. That's,
totally butcher that. But no, okay. So this is in the latest edition of the Australian Aviation magazine, specifically in the Register review. There is on the CASA Register VH Rex. VHREX is a registration that has been on the register since 2010. It has laid with Rex Airlines, of course, VH Rex. They made claim to that registration in 2010, put it on one of their subs. Of course, at the time, it was all they had, VH Rex. Made a big kind of song and dance, I suppose, in 2021 with their new fleet of Boeing 737s, most of which, in fact, maybe all of which, no, most of which were taken from the then struggling, fledgling airline Virgin Australia. So VH Rex went on to a Boeing 737 that was previously Virgin Australia's, now held by Rex, flown for how long? A year?
Couple years.
Yeah, 2 years.
It was they went bust 3.5 years. It would have been.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
they went bust in the middle of last year.
My concept of time is totally warped. I was shocked to realize that I haven't been.
It's
here
living
for
in
2.5
America
years.
that does it to you.
I know.
Time is different
everything
over
is
there.
warped. I'm not the person I was before. Anyway, so 3.5 odd years, whatever it was. But now, of course, unfortunately, all the Rex 737s grounded, some of which are making their way back to Virgin Australia, including VHREX, VH Rex. And as it turns out, it looks like Virgin Australia wants to keep that rego. They're not changing it. They've been flying VH Rex for weeks now, and doesn't seem to be any plans to change.
I looked.
It's brilliant, right? I'm going to step in here because we knew we had this mad situation that basically Rex took Virgin's aircraft, or not, but they took the same aircraft during COVID, and we now knew that Virgin took the planes, or some of the planes, back. But just to add insult to injury, they are actually flying VH Rex now. That is utterly humiliating. That is, I mean, I like to think John Sharp is just boiling.
He's spinning in his grave and he's not even dead yet. But I did
on Michael Venus's watch. I know that. You're not listening.
I did check just before we started recording. Last I checked, VH Rex is currently in the air as of the time of recording. It's on its way from Brisbane to Hobart, I believe.
That is extraordinary.
It's just
Hobart to Brisbane. My mistake.
Hobart to Brisbane. To gatekeep that kind of rego that's so iconic. I think I put in the wording of writing this out. I said, make of that what you will, because I didn't want to get too catty or anything, but it's an interesting situation, and it feels like a little bit of a pointed decision
Of course it is.
on the side of Virgin to keep that rego. I'm sure Rex will arguing as we speak to try and get that back. I don't know if they have any capability of ever doing that.
They were wronged. Virgin were wronged by Rex because Rex took their aircraft. They've taken it back, and this is like the final word. This is the stamping them down. We're now going to fly your most iconic rego. There's no way that's an accident.
Absolutely.
And we've got numbers now, haven't we? So we've freed up loads more registrations.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
There's plenty going. But no, they're keeping it put. It's just such an interesting situation. I mean, Rex was really trying to capitalize on the demise of Virgin Australia at the time, and Virgin just kind of came back with a vengeance. They've been growing and growing ever since. So, unfortunately, it's the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose.
Rex's administrators have, by the way, restarted the sale process for the airline, or started it anew, with the understanding that the government is planning to possibly step in as a buyer of last resort if no commercial buyers come along.
All right, well, I think
so. That's something to watch.
Okay, welcome back to Australian Aviation Podcast. We've already been dazzled by a superior journalist, the dross we are used to. Hannah back already with a scoop.
Adam, it's okay. We both know that Hannah is better than you, but you don't need to put yourself down like that.
Well, anyway, it is only fair, I believe, having been very nice to Hannah, but I do give you your time to shine. Hannah will have no idea what's going on here. I don't really have any idea what's going on here. We have our monthly segment where we have the Huey Award. For those listeners, viewers, people that aren't aware, and for Hannah's benefit, please describe what this nonsense is, just to give us a bit of a background first.
Well, it was your idea, Adam.
Wow, not that.
It was
that was not my.
So the Huey Award was originally Adam's idea.
Yeah, it was.
The award, the Jake Nelson Award for Most Reliable Airline, was originally the idea. I was the one who zhuzhed it up and made it into the Huey Award for the Most Reliable Airline because, in Huey Lewis's and the News's famous song. It's the airline that can best promise you'll be back in time.
So tenuous.
So we have awarded the Huey every month according to the Bitra data, and
excellent. I love this. This is a great edition. I just want to kind of interject myself here. The whole setup of this podcast studio has gotten such an upgrade since I was last here.
We don't even have the shelf in shot.
No, let alone no shelf in shot, and yet. This place is amazing. It's beautiful. And there's trinkets everywhere. If you're listening and you can't see, there's beautiful setup on a mass of planes, little tiny model planes. I'm disappointed that I didn't get any of this when I was here in this position. I gotta say. But the Huey Award is a beautiful.
Yes, we've got a lovely glass trophy to which has been taped a picture of Huey Lewis and the current holder of the Huey Award. Now, last month, that was Virgin Australia, who scored a reliability trifecta, beating Qantas on all three measures of on-time departures, on-time arrivals, and on-time not being cancelled.
I'd love to see it.
So this month, or rather for last month, because it's awarded for the month prior, we had the Bitra data from January, and once again, for the second month in a row, Virgin Australia has beaten Qantas on all three measures. 77.7% of Virgin network flights took off on time in January. 76.9% arrived on time. Qantas scored 75.6 in both measures. Again, Virgin network had basically the second lowest. It was the second lowest cancellations this time. Slightly more than Hinterland. Hinterland Aviation had 0.3% flights cancelled, but for the majors, it was Virgin Network 0.9% of flights cancelled. That's compared to the 2.4% for the Qantas network. Poor old Jetstar was a sorry sight at 6.8% on-time departures, 69.7% on-time arrivals, but was lower than Qantas on cancellations.
What a result for Virgin, because wasn't there crazy, I mean, I wasn't even here, but wasn't there crazy weather last month?
Yeah. We had a bit of trouble with the weather.
Yeah, I feel like that would just that alone would butcher your cancellation rate. So that's pretty
Yeah, well, I thought the highest cancellation rates for last month was Skytrans at 16.3%. So possibly some weather issues up in Queensland there. But yes, Hinterland, as I said, was the lowest at 0.3% of flights cancelled. And credit as always to Skytrans and Hinterland, who are consistently very who consistently leading the pack on on-time arrivals and departures. The Huey mainly considers the major airlines. And so for this month's Huey Award, I shall peel off the sticker that says Virgin Australia to reveal this month's winner, Virgin Australia.
Have we ever had a situation where someone's won it twice in a month?
Well, I think we've had Qantas and Qantas Link, then Qantas or something. I'd have to go back over the records,
yeah.
which I haven't been keeping. But once again, Virgin Australia wins the Huey for the most reliable airline second month in a row. And they'd sort of been kind of a dark horse or a stalking horse for a while, because they were consistently much lower for the past few months than Qantas on cancellations. And this was all due to their policy where basically they would rather delay a flight than cancel it. Their whole philosophy has been it is better to complete a flight late than to cancel the flight and put the passengers on other flights. Which
is a better result for the customer, really.
And credit where it's due to Virgin. Not only are they have they been getting lower cancellations now for the past 2 months in a row, they've been getting better on-time performance. So well done to Virgin Australia.
I think I saw a story that, I know it doesn't necessarily matter, that Virgin now, or there was 1 month that they were doing more flights than Qantas, or more passengers than Qantas. Obviously, that's not Qantas and Jetstar, or Qantas and Qantas Link. So Virgin now a really big operation. They've massively expanded since they've come out of administration. They've done a very, very good job. We met the people in Brisbane, didn't we, at their head office?
We did.
Who did it. Do you think maybe you your presence in the office kind of
inspired them? Yeah,
because before that point they never got anywhere near this.
Yeah, no, I've become their muse, I think.
Absolutely, that has to be it.
But yes, congratulations to Virgin Australia, second month in a row, winners of the Huey Award, the Australian Aviation Huey Award for most reliable airline, because they are the ones who are best able to promise you that you'll be back in time.
Oh, excellent! Right, what are we going to talk about next?
Well, probably the biggest story of the past week has been these Chinese naval exercises in the Tasman Sea that played merry hob with flight paths. Now, this was last Friday. They had these live fire naval drills in the Tasman Sea. Now, they were within their rights under international law to do this. This was all in international waters. But the complaint that the Australian government has had is that China did not actually give Australia enough notice of this. So there were, I'm just checking the exact number, there were 49 flights that were forced to, divert their flight paths or reroute their flight paths to avoid these naval exercises. And it came out, Air Services in Senate estimates on Monday, CEO Rob Sharp, who has been appointed as the permanent CEO of Air Services following a time as interim CEO, Rob Sharp said that Air Services found out about these naval exercises 30 minutes after they had started because a Virgin Australia pilot picked up on the emergency guard channel the Chinese warships were reporting a notification message. They were broadcasting this notification message in English on the International Guard channel, which pilots monitor, but air traffic control does not. So the Virgin pilot picks up this message, relays it to Air Services. Air Services, within 2 minutes, sets up this exclusion zone up to 45,000 feet. I think it was about 18 square kilometers. And then Air Services informs Defence, and the Transport Minister and everyone gets involved. So Defence gets informed 10 minutes after the Virgin pilot made contact, so 40 minutes after the start of the exercises. Catherine King, Transport Minister, her office is alerted at 11:20 a.m. and CASA at 11:28 a.m. So it's was sort of a schmozzle, and you can understand why the Australian government would be annoyed with China for not because the standard courtesy is 24 to 48 hours in advance.
So am I right in saying that the Chinese ships, which are firing their missiles or whatever they were doing, that's what a live firing exercise means on a machine means.
Yeah.
So they're firing their torpedoes.
They're firing something.
They're just firing something, yeah, not you, unfortunately.
I can go.
Sorry, that was hard. That was really
brutal.
horrible. I'm really sorry. We love Jake, really.
Jake, I promise he did this to me too. Don't you worry. You're not alone.
We don't have to stand for.
We're in this together.
We can form a union right here and now.
Right.
Anti-Adam Club.
So it wasn't technically in Australia or New Zealand.
Yeah, it was in international waters.
And was it in the between the countries in the Tasman?
Yeah,
Sea?
it was in Tasman, in international waters in the Tasman Sea.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a cheeky thing too, because it's not the biggest sea ever, is it? So it's a bit cheeky to be like, oh, we're just going to park off. I mean, they can fire their missiles back at home, can't they? They don't have to sail all the way down here. So it's a bit cheeky.
Yeah, it's certainly provocative.
Yeah.
Now the Chinese Defense Ministry has basically said that the Defense Minister Miles and Prime Minister Albanese were overreacting. Spokesperson said, quote, China's actions are in full compliance with international law and international practices and will not affect aviation flight safety. Australia, knowing this well, made unreasonable accusations against China and deliberately hyped it up. We are deeply surprised and strongly dissatisfied with this. And it's give us a heads up, maybe.
For sure. I mean, I think the fact that our government even knew about this because one of an Australian airline picked it up and said, hey, there's something going on here. I think you should know about it. It's definitely a common courtesy that was missed, but also feels just, I mean, I don't know the specifics. Maybe they were miles and miles and miles away from it, but it just feels like a safety thing too. Planes that are in the vicinity of active firing tests should just be aware of what's going on, surely.
Could you imagine that Virgin pilot? These are just flying away, having a great time, and then you hear on the radio, basically, some Chinese naval captain, you may fire when ready. I don't know. I'm maybe Hollywood.
They were broadcasting notifications that we are conducting military exercises, essentially.
Yeah.
So they weren't. He didn't accidentally pick up on a secure Chinese Navy channel. They were broadcasting on international guard channels, which are basically like these emergency channels. Hey, we're conducting these military exercises in the area.
But 10 out of 10, I would say 10 out of 10 to that pilot or the crew for not only hearing that but immediately alerting people because.
Yeah.
That's they wouldn't have expected to have heard that. So somebody's been really on the ball, potentially. I don't want to be as dramatic as potentially save people's lives, but averted a more serious situation there. That is going well above and beyond the job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that you'd hope the pilot would do.
Yeah.
But it's just a real weird situation, generally speaking.
When we're doing the Hueys next month, I think you need to take that into consideration because that's probably...
I consider the data, Adam.
Yeah. Virgin Australia on the ball again. What can we say?
There you go.
Petty as they may be.
Yeah. What are we talking about next, Jake?
Well, speaking of airline safety and oceans, the search is back on for MH370.
It's back on.
Again?
It's back on.
Was it ever off?
It was off for a while.
Yeah.
But Ocean Infinity, the company that did the search for it in 2018, that didn't turn up a whole lot, they have gone back out. They are sweeping a smaller area about 1,500 kilometres west of Perth. This is the 15,000 square kilometre area, and they're looking at these 4 hotspots that didn't get looked at. They're called hotspots. Researchers think, based on the available information, so based on, the known performance characteristics, the weather, the satellite data, oceanographic modeling, these researchers have come up with these 4 hotspots where the plane might be, or might be near, and so that's what Ocean Infinity, that's what their ship and their underwater UAVs are looking for. Sorry, not UAVs, AUVs, autonomous underwater vehicles, because UAVs are a different thing. But that's what these people are looking for with Ocean Infinity. They're places that didn't get searched in previous missions.
I have to say, having been in this industry at this point, what would it be? Maybe coming on 6 years, 5 or 6 years. Every 6 months, I feel like there is a story just like this. It's we've found the new spot that we haven't searched, MH370, or one of the few missing plane disasters. There's always someone who comes out and says, I've got it. I've worked it out. We're going to send someone. Look, there's nothing more devastating than a missing plane and a mystery that we really are searching for answers, and families are searching for answers. So I hope that this turns something out. But that is just a consistency I've noticed in my tenure, is every 6 months someone says, I've worked it out. I've got it. There's something in my inbox that's going to say, we know where it is.
Well, we got an email in our inbox from someone who thought they knew where it was. The day after the story went up.
Yep.
It's one of the biggest aviation stories of the past couple of decades.
Jake, get on that. And you might be in bad taste. Get on it now. We found it.
Go for a swim. Work it out.
The point that I think Hannah's trying to make here is that it's almost like and not necessarily to these guys, but it's almost like in bad taste a lot of the time, because there's these people that have got obsessed about it. And there was I think it was like a Netflix documentary on it, and a lot of these people who are individuals that are obsessed about solving the mystery. It doesn't feel that they really care about the families who've lost people and the disaster. They've got wrapped up. It's like one of these kind of true crime things, which I always think is in kind of a little bit of poor taste, given a lot of people died. It was a very sad incident, but it's become wrapped in these kind of endless conspiracy theories. I would suggest now, all these years later, it's going to be very hard to actually find something. It feels to me like it's very... On one of these documentaries, they had all these kind of, they interviewed loads of people, and the only sort of people that emerged with any credit were the ATSB, Australia's crash investigators, effectively, and that they came across that they genuinely care, because they were a large part of this. But everybody else, not everybody, but it felt a lot of these people are kind of feasting on this. There's these people walking up and down beaches and thinking they found a little piece of it, and I kind of feel now that maybe like it's just time to let it go.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like it'll be one of those mysteries that we won't ultimately get to the end to, because, by the time, obviously this has been a mystery for so long that sorry, let me get my thoughts together. It's been a mystery for so long, and the investigation now has to take so much more into account, and currents, and where things would be settling over time and moving over time. I really I commend the people who still are spending the time to investigate this particular mystery. But again, I do worry for the families when these things come out, because it does ultimately feel a little bit like how much more can we achieve by going over the same pieces of information? I'm not too sure.
Well, the good news for the Malaysian government, who would be footing the bill for this, this would be a $70 million bill if they actually find the airline. The good news for the Malaysian government is that it's, again, I think it's on a no find, no fee basis. So if Ocean Infinity turns up nothing, they don't get paid. Now, if Ocean Infinity does turn up something, then it would be up to the Malaysian government to determine whether to launch a salvage operation. But you can imagine that they probably would, because there would be a lot of pressure from the home front to get this plane raised so that, people would finally have that closure.
One of the extraordinary things about this, and this might bring in your, not newfound, but your understanding of space, is that at the moment, air traffic control can't necessarily track aircrafts all over around the world. There are effectively kind of black spots and things we don't understand, which from memory was a part of MH370. That's why we don't know exactly where it went down. In the future, we will have aircraft that are tracked by satellites more, and you will have more of that. So this thing won't necessarily happen in future, but it is still obviously extraordinary that an aircraft can just vanish, and that there are these black spots that people wouldn't necessarily know about. Okay, welcome back. So we are finalised. Well, we're finished up with some more news stories, some more chat. Jake, what have we got up next?
We've got a couple of airport stories.
Love an airport story. Have you got the airport dog story? Is that on your
I wasn't planning it. Well, it's first of all, it's about assistance dogs. Secondly, it's about Qantas, not airports. And thirdly, it's not actually that interesting.
Whoa! So basically, I made Jake.
Adam trifecta.
Yeah, he doesn't look very happy for those of you listening. I made Jake write this story because there's a really lovely picture of a dog, and I'm like, Jake, get on this. And he's like,
I find it degrading that you make me write up every story that has a picture of a dog associated with it.
Adam was just built to be a tabloid journalist.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it. If there's dogs or there's anything cute.
Look, Qantas has partnered with Assistance Dogs Australia to promote understanding of assistance dogs, help transport assistance dogs, and so on. This, by the way, came after last year they settled a lawsuit over someone's assistance dog. So I don't know how much of that is damage control. But nonetheless, Qantas has partnered with this assistance dog charity, Assistance Dogs Australia. Happy?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thanks
Excellent.
for that. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So getting back to news that does not involve dogs. We've had 2 months of broken passenger records from Perth Airport. Perth has been a pretty big post-COVID success story, particularly in recent years, because especially regional and FIFO travel have lifted its passenger capacity beyond pre-COVID levels, basically before any other major airport in the country. So in January, more than 1.56 million passengers passed through Perth Airport's terminals. I was one of them. Lovely airport. Got a wonderful new rail link, as we discussed. But broke interstate and international passenger records that had been set the previous month. So this was the second month in a row of just record-breaking passenger numbers for Perth Airport. And this comes after the 2024 calendar year was the best Perth had ever had. So, according to the CEO, Jason Waters, Perth Airport is now well on track to meet its forecast of 20 million passengers by 2030. And they're doing this big infrastructure capital works project, new runway, new terminal facilities, 2 multi-story car parks, first airport hotel. I did see the construction work sort of underway when I was at Perth Airport, at the end of last month, start of this month. Big sort of construction hoardings up all over the place. So they're really getting on with it. Good on Perth. I mean, it's really, Perth has kind of been moving towards being the Western Gateway to Australia for a while, and now it's really sort of going all in. Particularly with all these Qantas flights that are, for example, that are heading out to Paris, London, Rome, flights to South Africa. You've got all sorts of traffic coming in through Perth internationally, and then regionally and domestically, you've got a whole bunch of activity as well. So that's Perth 2 months in a row of broken passenger records.
And you've got the FIFO flights as well. Is it FIFO or FIFO?
Yeah, exactly. FIFO, I smell the blood of an Englishman. He's in that chair over there. But yeah, so Perth has been doing very well.
It's interesting because you've got obviously...
I thought you might have something to say about Perth there, Hannah, but...
What's there to say about Perth, honestly?
It's the middle of nowhere, isn't it? And they're all idiots.
I love Perth. My best friend lived in Perth for a long time. I do have a soft spot for Perth.
It's a very nice place.
It's a beautiful place. You get the great sunsets. The western sunsets over the water. Beautiful. Yeah, no,
I did take the time to go out with my partner to see the sunset over the Indian Ocean. It was very lovely.
Excellent.
But with the airport rail link, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Very, very nice. It was reminiscent of the Sydney Metro, kind of down to the colour scheming. Actually, it's fast, it's frequent, it's prompt. It's foreshadowing because Melbourne still doesn't have an airport rail link.
Yeah.
And today...
Is this a link?
This is a link.
This is my job. We do this every week. This is my job. But you link to your own story. I just go...
Adam, you've just been put out of a job.
Yeah,
he's got it in hand.
Yeah, no, you thought you were bringing Hannah back to replace me. But actually...
Joke's on you.
Yeah, so today, as we're recording this podcast on a Wednesday, a bit unusual, but we have reworked our schedule because we could not pass up the opportunity to have Hannah here in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Today, the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, confirmed $7 billion of Commonwealth funding for the Melbourne Airport rail link. Now, this is a mix of stuff that had already been pledged. So the $5 billion to build the rail link. This is and this will be plus an extra $2 billion to help with the transformation of Sunshine Station, which will be the interchange between the airport line where it will meet up with the rest of the Melbourne rail network. You will not have to change at Sunshine to get into to the city. You'll be able to go straight through. But that's the latest news on the Melbourne Airport rail link, which has been extensively delayed. And, it was finally able to begin the process of getting moving again after Melbourne Airport dropped its demands for an underground station because it had been squabbling with the state government for ages about, airport wants an underground station, state government wants an above ground station. The airport eventually last year gave in after the federal government favoured the above ground solution. So it's been delayed by, at least 4 years.
Wow.
But
I have to say, as someone who travels very, very often, every modern airport has to have a rail link. Like there has to be a train. Buses don't cut it. No other public transport cuts it. It's just America can be really hit or miss when it comes to adequate connections to the city centre from the airport. But I just don't know how it's even 2025 and we have Melbourne Airport, one of the busiest airports in the country, and there's no adequate rail link. It's kind of ridiculous. And the Sydney Metro. Ooh, can I talk about the Sydney Metro?
We love a train.
we love the Sydney Metro.
It's so beautiful. I've been away from home for 2.5 years. Come back, and it is just so fresh, so clean. I used to take the Metro part of the way into North Sydney when I was working here full time. But now that it goes right all the way through the city, it's excellent.
It's wonderful. And the Western Sydney Airport is, of course, going to have its Metro link, which may not open in time for the airport's opening. There has been sort of rumblings that might be the case, but we'll keep watching that. Perth, of course, has its airport rail link, which is very, very nice. We actually, I saw a video, a very interesting video. I'm going to do a bit of a shout out to Transit Chat on YouTube for their video a month ago about how not to build an airport rail link, which talks about the Brisbane Air Train and basically the problems with that, how it's too infrequent, how it's not it's the prices are too high. And it's all because of this, public-private partnership situation that the government got itself into, and it's now having to possibly find a way to get out of by just buying the airport rail link, buying the air train back from the company that's running it. But they actually gave us a bit of a shout out. They used a screenshot of one of our headlines in their video. Talking about the Melbourne Airport rail link and how it doesn't have one yet. Sort of a little bit of a clap back on their part at Melbourne. But if you're watching Transit Chat, hello. Thank you for using our article headline.
You thought we were losers at Australian aviation, but there is a transit. There is somebody more into public transport than
there
we
are lots of people who are very into public transport. Transit YouTube is actually quite interesting.
Yeah. So what do they cover? All forms of transit?
They cover the public transport system of Brisbane and southeast Queensland.
Yeah.
Also, while I'm on the topic of people using our headlines and YouTube videos, shout out, I believe, to Stefan Drury, who used a screenshot of one of our articles in his recent video about Jetstar business class.
Excellent. And Adam, you were trying to say it's been downhill since I left. Look at this.
We're getting YouTubers, okay? We're getting YouTubers.
YouTubers on Australian Aviation website. Love that.
Yeah, no, it's good to see our stuff getting out there. I'm just trying to remember exactly what article of ours that he used, but I definitely remember. Here it is. Yeah, it was. He used our article, a screenshot of our article from last year about Virgin dropping its flights from Cairns to Tokyo because he flew from Tokyo to, I think, Melbourne on Jetstar in business class, and it was, is Jetstar's international business class worth it? But shout out to Stefan Drury. We love the aviation YouTube community, of course. Shout out to Jeb Brooks, our old friend, if he's listening over in North Carolina. Have you ever been to North Carolina?
I've driven through North Carolina.
Well, you might have driven in the general vicinity of Jeb Brooks, who's a friend of the show.
Tenuous.
Excellent.
But getting back to airport rail links, now that all that business is concluded, there has been noises again from Avalon Airport. We covered this last year, but the Herald Sun has covered it this year. So it's only, I don't know, 10 months behind us. But Avalon Airport has again made noise as the new the CEO or acting CEO. I'm not sure if he's been appointed permanently yet. But he was saying that Avalon Airport could have a Luton style, as in London Luton style, driverless shuttle service between the airport itself and the main rail link. And they're saying that, both Avalon and Melbourne Tullamarine should have links to the rail system, which they should. As nice as the Skybus is, it is very expensive.
The idea that you've got Avalon Airport and the beautiful Australia, beautiful Victoria, and they're like, we aspire to be like Luton. I mean, Luton, no offence. In Luton, no one can hear you scream. I mean, Luton is a dump.
Have you ever been to Luton, Hannah?
I have been to Luton.
There's Luton.
Yeah,
Not glamorous.
No. I mean, would you say arguably the worst London Airport?
Yeah, it's up there.
Absolutely.
It's horrible. And
Yeah.
they're all like, I don't care now. I've got permanent residency. They're all a bunch of chavs as well, getting their crappy little budget flights.
Yeah, Luton. Do you know,
Hate
I had
them.
the
Blatant
pleasure...
classism from Adam Thorne, the bourgeois swine. First against the wall when the revolution comes, mate.
on the opposite side of that, I had the pleasure once of flying into London City Airport.
I've never even been there.
Oh, I mean, the airport's fine, but it's just the views you get flying in.
Yeah.
You're like right over the city centre. It's stunning, just beautiful. But yeah, no, but Luton, gotta say,
Horrible.
no,
It is grim.
It's grim.
It is grim.
Well, one more grim story that we didn't cover on Australian aviation this week, but Adam, you were eager to talk about on the podcast for whatever reason, was this couple who had to sit next to a corpse for 4 hours on a Qatar Airways flight.
It's not funny. It's very sad.
It is very sad. This couple was on the way. It was an Australian couple. They were on their way to Venice. So Melbourne to Venice via Doha. A woman died in the aisle beside them on the way to Doha, and the corpse was covered in a blanket and placed next to the man for about 4 hours while the plane was en route, because they didn't really have anywhere else to put her. And it's not a great situation to be in.
This just does happen, doesn't it? Like, this
does.
isn't actually like... So basically, this started off being a story in Daily Mail, and someone was like, I sat next to a corpse. As you could imagine, they'd have written it. But the reason I was to bring it up is it's actually... These things do happen. And actually, if you're cabin crew and you have your whole career, it's probably going to happen to you once or twice. And there's not much you can do.
It does. I mean, I've read similar stories in the US. It does happen quite a lot, to be honest. The reality is, if something unfortunately happens when you are flying these long routes, particularly when, if you consider that 50,000 odd flights take off every day, it's bound to happen. And unfortunately, cabin crew are in a position where there's nowhere to move that person in that unfortunate circumstance. What are the options there? I know.
Yeah, so I'm looking it up. If a passenger dies on board, first of all, the crew and any medical professionals on board will attempt to resuscitate them.
Mm-hmm.
If that fails, then the crew has to notify the captain, and the captain will decide whether to continue to the destination or divert. Obviously, if the plane is, flying over the ocean at the time, in the middle of nowhere, there's not really much of an option to divert, particularly, when third countries are getting involved. So evidently the captain and the crew in this scenario have decided to continue on to Doha. The procedure, generally speaking, is the passenger will be covered with a blanket. Nearby passengers may be. This is coming from a bloke called Alves, Dr. Paulo Alves, the global medical director of aviation health at Med Air. He told this to the Huffington Post. So Dr. Alves says nearby passengers may be moved to other seats if space permits. The body may be moved to a less populated area, such as an empty row if available. Otherwise, the body is secured in the original seat with the seatbelt fastened to prevent movement during the flight. And the crew will wear personal protective equipment to maintain hygiene and safety while handling the body. The article also notes that protocols might be different for longer flights with many more hours remaining. So another person that they quote, Robert, something Robert. I'm just scrolling back up now. J. Robert, former flight attendant, founder of the brand, a fly guy. So J. Robert told the Huffington Post that he used to work for a major international airline that operated some of the world's longest flights. The onboard equipment did include a kit with a body bag and toe tags. So if the pilots decided to continue, they would have to prepare the body for storage. The deceased would be moved to a private area where the body could be stored flat for the remainder of the journey without other passengers noting and without obstructing an exit. It was essential, he said, to keep the body flat because post-mortem stiffening of muscles would start about 2 hours after death and the flights could still have a long way to go. Apparently, they would use first-class suites with flat beds and privacy doors if one was available. So they would use an onboard wheelchair to get the passenger there. But it's a pretty gruesome situation.
Yeah, I suppose it's just the reality of it. Sounds awful, but it's just the reality of these things are going to happen.
And you know, it's the couple were saying how upset they were that it sort of disrupted their flight. In a way, it's kind of understandable. You don't want to be seated next to a dead person for 4 hours. And apparently, when the authorities boarded the plane at the other end, you know, they did take the blanket off to you know check the woman if she was dead. Which you don't want to see if you're sitting next to her on a plane.
I do kind of feel, and I don't know the ins and outs of it. If I was that couple or all of those people, I probably wouldn't have gone to Daily Mail and gone, that's terrible. I probably would have been more...
I think it was a current affair.
A little bit.
A current affair, whatever, yeah. I mean... And also, like, admittedly, there is the rank hypocrisy that I told you to write to the website. But I probably, if those people had come to me, I probably would have been like, do we... Because we would have done it very sensitively in terms of this is a reality of flight, rather than making out like it was a scandal. When it's not a scandal, what do they want people to do? They're like, that's just one of the things.
Yeah, so that's, you know, it's understandably these people were very upset that the body was just placed there and covered with a blanket, but that is the standard procedure. That's what happens when someone dies on a flight and you can't divert and there's nowhere else to put the body. You just, you put the body where you can and you put a blanket over it to help the passenger maintain their dignity and, you know, help other passengers not be unduly traumatized.
Right. Well, we're going to end the show, but not on that note. Not on that note. We're going to end with something positive. I want to throw it open. See, we've got the past and the present. Me read you two ace reporters need to come up with something happy we can end this on. Anything.
Well, I'd like to, but my laptop has run out of battery power.
Yeah, again. Hannah always used to make sure hers was fully charged.
It was fully charged before we came in here.
We've been stuck in here for hours.
Well, it's been a good week for people who like Hannah Dowling. Because she's here. Because she's here. And it's wonderful to finally meet you. And to put a face to the person who has been diligently doing our traffic. And our register reports and our warbirds. For quite some time.
Because I don't even know how you do register review.
I know.
I have no idea. This is why I was panicking. I know I wasn't panicking, was I? This is why I was panicking. Calm.
Because, if she can't do it, who will?
Well, who does that?
That is, that's my superpower, and this is probably what I'll keep to myself forever. So that you have to bring me in every quarter to do the register. It just has to be done.
So I'll tell you what we can finish with. So when are you flying to New York?
I fly back on sometime next week. Okay. I don't even have a date. Again, when you play the standby game, it's kind of like I'll fly when the seats look good, when the flights look somewhat empty. It'll probably be next Wednesday or Thursday.
I mean, if you're still here on next Tuesday.
No, you can't keep it.
Oh, please. Can I come back?
Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah,
can we keep her, Adam?
I love this, though. This has been such a joy. It genuinely, it's made me so happy. But it's such a cool setup now. Like, you guys have really decked it out since I got here.
It's not me and him. It's Jordan, actually. Jordan the Great.
Jordan, cheers to you. But no, and I love all the little like intricate details, all the little planes. It's so much fun. I didn't realize now that you guys full on video record. I probably should have touched up my face a little bit more, but there we go.
Oh, you look radiant.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You can stay. You're good. Yeah.
Adam,
we
don't
like
need him.
We don't need him.
You don't need him.
Adam bullies us. No, not you.
Right, well, on that note, I will thank you very much for coming back, Hannah. Give her a round of applause.
Thank
Give yourself
you.
a round of
Yeah.
applause.
There you
It's
go.
been
It's
lovely.
not
Thank you
happy,
so
innit?
much for having me. No,
Happy.
it's such a joy. The Australian Aviation Podcast is among one of the things that I am the most proud for, and it is probably the one thing that people like hit me up about the most. It continuing when I say
We've been recognised. We've been
Yeah.
recognised out in the world.
Absolutely.
By we, I mean I mainly.
yeah, fantastic.
But of all the aviation podcasts out there, I'd say that the Australian Aviation Podcast is easily one of them.
It is easily one of them. You're so right, and said so beautifully there. But it is when I run into people who ask me about my history, or they know Australian aviation, they're always complimenting the podcast. So yeah, like props to you guys as well,
All right, thank you.
And jets.
and to Jets.
Props and jets.
Props and Jets. Oh, good one. Sorry, it took me a
Terrible,
second.
Terrible, yeah. Right, we said goodbye to Hannah. Say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.
Yeah, and we'll be back on this show the same time next week. But from now, from us three, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.